Okay, so we are continuing our football club history series. We've just spent some videos in Italy, up in the Alps. We're moving just south of the Alps into Piedmont, and we're looking at Torino FC. They play at the Stadio Olimpico Grande Torino, has a capacity of 27,958. The club itself is founded in 1906. Its first official match was against Pro Vercelli, who we've done a video on, who were the dominant side in Italian football at the time. That was on the 16th of December 1906. Torino won that game 3-1. Their first derby match versus Juventus was the following month on the 13th of January 1907. They won that 2-1. They also won the return fixture 4-1, so they won the first two matches against the famous old lady Juventus, did Torino. Now, in the 1940s, they won 5 consecutive titles, which we'll look at in their honours section. They were nicknamed the Grande Torino. Very similar to the Grande Inter side, who won all those titles in the 60s and 70s. In the 40s, it was Torino who were the top dogs in Italy until the 1949 Superga Air Disaster, where the whole team was sadly killed in 1949. Very similar to the Munich Air Disaster for Manchester United, whole team wiped out. We've seen it in Brazilian football as well. Not that long ago, a whole team was killed in an air disaster. Now, because of that air disaster, their success dried up. They've only won the one league title since 1949, 3 Coppa Italias since 1949, and the old Mitropa Cup in the 1991 season. So their success just fell off a cliff. The club never fully recovered its status. Now, they have a great bond and friendship with the fans and the club of Fiorentina because of the assistance given after the air disaster in 1949. They also have some really big rivalries. Obviously, Juventus is the biggest one. We'll look at that later on. But let's have a look at their honours, because before the air disaster in 1949, they were one of the top dogs in Italy. As I said, that Grande Torino side of the 40s, but they win their first league title in the 27-28 season, and then they dominate Italian football in the 40s. So the 1942-43 season, before Italian league players stopped during the Second World War, they win their second, and then they just win. The 45-46 league title, the first one after the Second World War, the 46-47 title, the 47-48 title, and the 48-49 title. So they win the 4 titles after the Second World War and the last one during the Second World War, which is where the Grande Torino team comes from. That's 5 consecutive titles. And then the air disaster. And it takes them a very long time to win their final league title in the 75-76 season. So a very, very long time till they win again. Now, the Coppa Italia, very, very similar kind of trend there. They win it in the 35-36 season and the last season before players stopped during the Second World War in the 42-43 season. Then the air disaster, they don't win it again until the 67-68 season. They win it again in the 1970-71 season. And their last major piece of silverware is the Coppa Italia in the 92-93 season. That's the last trophy they won. Now, the old Mitropa Cup, which is now a defunct European competition, they won in the 1990-91 season. And famously, they were runners-up in the UEFA Cup in the 91-92 season. Very famously. Now, the rivalries, they have a lot. We'll talk about the Juventus rivalry right at the end, but they have a rivalry with Sampdoria, because Liguria and Piedmont regionally in Italy have a big rivalry economically and socially. Piacenza, another one. Verona, Lazio, Perugia, Internazionale, or Inter Milan, as many people will commonly know them as. Atalanta, so that's Lombardy, not AC Milan, however, is not classed as a major rival, more Inter than Atalanta. Ternana, Ancona, who play on the Adriatic coast. Genova used to be a friendly rivalry. It turned nasty when Torino got relegated to Serie B one season. The fans started fighting. Torino come back into Serie A, and they've not liked each other ever since. And of course, most famously, the Derby della Mole, the rivalry with their city rivals across the city in Juventus. Now, the interesting thing with the rivalry with Juventus is most people in Turin, or Torino, are Torino fans. Now, Juventus's ownership is the Fiat Agnelli family. They own Fiat. Most of the fan base of Torino at some point worked in the Fiat factories. And while Juventus is the biggest club in Italy for fan base, most fans in the city of Turin, or Torino, depending on where you are in the world, don't like Juventus. And it's a very, very interesting kind of dynamic in the city of Torino. A lot of people in Piedmont will support Juventus, but a lot of people in the city support Torino. So that rivalry goes back to 1906. First game was played in 1907, and Torino out the bat were the better side. Now, obviously, in more recent times, Juventus have won a lot more. You look at their silverware, but Torino were the top dogs in the 40s until the 1949 air disaster, which killed the whole team. And it basically killed their dominance dead. They've not fully recovered. One league title and 3 Coppa Italias since that air disaster. They were winning a lot. They were the best side in Italy. Very, very similar to the Munich air disaster with the Busby Babes and Manchester United a few years later in the 50s. There's parallels here, and it's a well-known air disaster. For older fans, will know all about the Superga Air Disaster of 1949. So there we go. There's a brief history of Torino FC. Very successful club, one of the most successful clubs in Italian football. And of course, we mentioned Fiorentina in this video, and that is a club we'll be looking at next. Very interesting club, Fiorentina. Very underrated club in Fiorentina, and some of my favourite players have played for Fiorentina. But there we go. Thank you very much for watching. Place your thoughts in the comments section below. Very interesting club to look at is Torino. But from me for now, thank you very much for watching, and I'll have some more content for you guys very, very soon.